In terms of findings on sexual violence, we found clear and convincing information that sexual violence, including rape, sexualized torture, and cruel, inhuman, and degrading treatment have been committed against hostages, and we have reasonable grounds to believe that such violence may still be ongoing against those in captivity. We found that there are reasonable grounds to believe that conflict-related sexual violence, including rape and gang rape, occurred in at least 3 locations, namely the Nova Music Festival site and its surroundings, Road 232, and Kibbutz Reim. In most of these incidents, victims were first subjected to rape, then killed. In addition to these specific locations, we also found across multiple locations of the Gaza periphery a pattern of victims, mostly women, found fully or partially naked from the waist down, with their hands tied behind their back and or tied to structures such as trees and poles, and shot.
Have you ever heard of a gay?
Sounds nice. But does it go up? Yeah. From the river to the sea. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.
Yeah, mo lava on whātalo whātu pa ia mana mamalu o mwhaina whaafunga mai le nei tu la i le tatou pokalami māsani lava ni nei o le Talanoa sao. Welcome and talofa lava to all of our friends and members of the audience who are used to watching this. So we welcome to this episode of Talanoa sao. We're going to start by talking about what's happening in Israel. But before we do that, we'll bring on onto the set our co-hosts. Let's start with Mr. Elliot. Are you there?
Whakalova atu. Yeah, thank you for having me on. Good to see you, Yahweh.
Hey, talofa lava.
Talofa
And
lava.
we also have Miss our well, someone who we like to refer to as our sister, Liao Tilsley.
Hi guys.
Hey, how you doing, Liao?
Thanks for having me on. No, we always have you on.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate that.
So let's talk about what we just saw on the screen just now. If you guys are familiar with what's happening, of course, without getting into too much, we saw that the United Nations have now officially issued a report regarding what took place on October 7th last year. And of course,
what is that report? Because I think most of us don't know. So what is that report saying?
Well, that report, what they did is they had a special investigation in regards to violence towards women. And so what they discovered was exactly that. There was rape, there was kidnapping, there was all kinds of different violent actions that were taken regarding the Israeli hostages. I mean, even before they even took these women hostage, they raped them. And now what they're finding also is that the people who are being held hostage, the women that are being held hostage, there's stories coming back out that says that they're being raped while they're being held as hostages.
Mm.
So, well, let's start with our sister now, because coming from a female perspective, enlighten us with a little bit of that wisdom of yours.
Yeah, that's pretty sad. We have since, I guess, all of this year, my prayer group have been praying for each of them by name and their ages, and it's actually quite, it's really quite haunting to think about what their age group range from. And they have had a few releases, but not many.
Right.
But we've been praying for them by their names and their ages. And You know, it could be anyone.
What age?
Sorry, pardon?
What sort of ages are we talking about? What is the age range of
We're
these
talking
hostages?
about from 18, 19, right up to, I think the oldest was, I think about
Like a grandma.
79 or
Yeah.
80. I think
That's
the
right.
80-year-old was released. But just to hear their names and for me, like just thinking about them just going about their day, you know, and all of a sudden it just is changed forever, and some of them have been killed. The reality of it is that we live in a very cruel world, and you just don't know how long you really have. Like life just can change within a matter of seconds. And I think about, you know, some of them were 19, 20, 21, 22, the same age as my boys. So when you start to get to the nitty gritties of their names and their ages, it's really disturbing. But you know, we continue to live in hope. That's all we can do is bring it before God. And I think maybe we should start with a word of prayer because it's quite heavy subjects that we're going to be talking about tonight.
Yeah,
So is that
yeah.
okay if I pray? Yeah, I'll pray. God, I just want to thank you that you love us and that you do have a plan and a purpose for each of our lives. And we pray that that you would continue to work. And we pray again for these hostages that are being kept, and just for their mental health, just their
Yes,
whole
Lord.
being. And I pray, Lord, that there'll be strategic ways and methods to be able to release them, but also the conviction of the hearts of those who are
Yes.
holding them by captive. I pray, Lord, that you would convict their hearts. Lord, just anyone throughout the world who is going through this, Lord, who have been held against their will. We just pray that, and we just ask God that you be with us tonight in our conversations. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. I also do want to bring up something that Kelly has brought up, which is quite powerful. It's amazing that there are people in this country and our own politicians supporting those barbaric attacks on Israelis. Greens should be ashamed of themselves supporting the Hamas rapists. And of course, one of them is, of course, the new Greens leader, Chloe Swarbrick, who was ranting, just absolutely unhinged, calling for from the river to the sea. Something that is very well known to be a genocidal call to erase the people of Israel from the River Jordan to the sea, heading that way. So I think she's absolutely right. And the fact that you've got hundreds, in some areas thousands, of New Zealanders just calling for these, what I would regard as genocidal chants, is quite extremist behaviour. And to know that it's happened in New Zealand, I'm starting to realise that New Zealand has either been groomed into or been fermented into these very extremist activities. So I think we really do need to see if we can make sure that, or do our best to bring that conservative piece back, that idea of finding out what is the truth as opposed to just being groomed and fear fermented. There'll be my parts of this as well. But yeah, absolutely, I think that's disgusting that some people are trying to call this into question and to try to say, oh, no, somehow that the rapes, the murders, the torturings, the beheadings are somehow acts against what they regard as oppression. It's quite disgraceful, I think.
Well, I don't know if you guys are able to see this, but just recently they've started to show more graphic these pictures, because before they just told the story when they would, and unfortunately these pro-Palestinian protesters are out there gaslighting people, trying to say that, oh, that's been fact checked to be false, So they're trying to tell people that everything that they hear about the rapes and all of these atrocities that were done on October 7th are actually false. And that's the reason why I think that this is actually intentional on the part of the Israeli the Israeli side to try to tell the story of these people and to show it because you can see it. It's obvious to the eyes, And then the other thing I was going to say is that the other thing that's not being told too much about these hostage situations are the families of the hostages. and even there's a video that was shown of this the man of the family, the father, who had his daughter raped in front of him, and then they murdered him. They murdered her, and then they took
I saw that video.
the father hostage. But they said that the man you could see like the man looked like he was broken. It's like he was just after seeing what they did to his daughter and the fact that he was helpless, because as men, you do know that, and men are natural protectors inside of them. If they see something like that, that's why you see these guys jumping in and trying to protect. I mean, if a guy doesn't do that, then they're going against their instinct. The natural instinct of a male is when they see an attack taking place, they will stand up and try to protect those whom they love. That's the actual the masculine instinct kicking in, and sometimes they do things that the other afterwards they're like, wow, I never thought about that happening. But one last thing I was going to say, you're talking about Chloe Schwarbeck. We should people like that, they should have their feminist card taken away from them, because they should have no more right to talk about women and women's rights, because obviously they're siding with terrorists, and so anytime she talks about women ever again, don't even listen to her.
I don't listen to her anyway, so it's not even it's just like when she's unhinged, she just I don't know how people voted for her. I really don't. I just don't get it. I don't get whether, like you said, Elliot, about the groomed part of, she's got the personality, and this is what happens when you pick the populist vote and vote in people you think have got, maybe can speak well or, look the part. This is what's happened to this generation. Because, I mean, TV shows, movies, I mean, look at the stupid Oscars.
Yes.
Stuff like that has become, I mean, half of these women wear clothes, they might as well just come naked. That, it's that whole kind of, we're pushing the edge, and it just doesn't seem to stop.
So the Chloe Sorbeck one is I think one that we need to bring up anyway, because of course now she is the new leader. No one else would step up, and I think we all knew that she was going to be chosen. You're right; she's very revolutionary, very revolutionist. I suspect that she is straight full communist. I think that she is probably has some leanings towards. Sadly, I think she has some leanings towards fascism style engagements. I'm going to play a little clip here, and this clip is only about a minute, but this is actually in her own words as to how they're going to push progressivism into government. Right? And pay attention to this, because this is what they're good at, that we as conservatives are not good at. So have a quick look at this.
I'd like to know what you're going to do differently, if anything, to try and grow that progressive left position or number of MPs in Parliament, if not in government. What do you, coming in, a fresh voice into the leadership area, do differently to see the numbers get even bigger than they are now?
So what I'm really clear about is that I'm going to spend the next few weeks and months and years finding, identifying and shoulder tapping local champions everywhere across this country who I think need to be in our House of Parliament and who embody Green Party values to run really serious local campaigns to inspire and mobilise people such that we then end up translating that to seats at every single level of government. So I'm not just talking about obviously the general election and those 120 odd seats in Parliament, but also in councils around this country as well. Because I think a lot of people also, as is also reflected in lower voting rates and turnout at local body election, don't necessarily realise that oftentimes the immediate stuff that impacts their daily life happens at a local government level as well. Yeah.
So that's Chloe, and you know what? The left do this very well. Now that's of course on a bit of a far moderate or far left site. That is Pat Britton, and I think the other one is Martin Bradbury. I'm not sure, but Chloe has got the left's policy. This is the leftist viewpoint, is that they'll start that infiltration from the local level. When you look at Auckland, South Auckland, you see that they're all within the local board. Then they go to that local council. Then they'll go to regional council. Then they'll go to straight to the central government, and they have that quite well formed. It's very, very easy. And of course, with Pacifica, we tend to be a populace who are very susceptible to the manipulation of those leftist environments. So, they do well, where the Conservatives don't. We tend to just go for whoever is best. But that is not group psychological thinking. That is not.
Correct.
We believe in meritocracy. We believe in who's doing the best job and all that good stuff. That's good, but that is not how the left roll, and the left are much better at it than we are.
There's a lot of things that they're actually a lot better at, to be fair. And this is what's winning, the side. And the pendulum will swing back. We get to that extreme, and then it will start coming back because people will wake up one day, hopefully, and realize this has gone too far. But what is too far right now? We don't know.
I think that we've seen the pendulum start to swing back, but not far enough here in New Zealand, with the last election, getting Luxem in there and National back into power. But, the thing is National don't represent the Conservatives in the same way that they used to. And so the thing is people need to realize that this has become like a real conservative versus non-conservative or woke ideology type of a war in terms of what's happening right now. And we need someone who can articulate those kind of issues. And it doesn't seem like National's willing to do that. Or they're just not built for that.
No, you're actually quite right, because I do know Luxon was supposed to be the Conservative, but of course on this channel we sort of liked him a little bit, but we were like, he's not really a Conservative. He looks like a Conservative, he speaks the right words, but it's not really that solid. Well, on Straight Talk, Family First Straight Talk the other day on Monday night, all of them actually were very critical of Mr. Luxon's strength in terms of conservative values, and that was actually quite extraordinary. So it looks like he might be just another John Key, where just keeps the rudder sort of moving in a direction, not really a heavy vision, and perhaps that will work. Maybe you've got Winston Peters, who currently is on the side of conservatism, and you've got Seymour, who's hardcore libertarian. I think it'd be interesting to see what happens, I think. But all the conservative leaders that we've been speaking to are not overly impressed so far.
Elliot, tell me something. As opposition leader, did Luxon ever stand up for anything that was important?
No, I don't recall so. Very good on the economic issues, and to be fair, economics tends to win elections for the right, for the conservative. No, nothing social. So no real stance in terms of being pro-life or being pro-family or being pro-woman, being pro-science. Those parts weren't really there. Rather that he tried to take a hold. In fact, I remember one of the occasions he tried to be a bit flippant in regards to comments around, people aren't talking about who can go into which bathroom. Ha ha ha. That's not what's serious, so we'll move on. So he made that comment, but of course, in the end, they did, because in actual fact, many New Zealanders, especially the parents, said, no, it is important, actually. We don't want boys going into our girls' changing room, showers, sports teams, all of that. By the way, that's coming, and parts of it all here, but that's still coming. That hasn't been gotten rid of, actually. So
No.
I think that the groups like Let Kids Be Kids, Mama Bears Are Rising, Family First, that these groups still need to be pushing that out to the parents to tell them, hey, just because the government signed a particular thing saying to get away with RSE doesn't mean that much, actually. The schools are still got it in the MOE, and they're still flooding it into our children.
I've had really good discussions with Penny, who is heading up Let Kids Be Kids, and what is the biggest issues is that parents are distracted by a whole lot of stuff, including work, and they're not actually really taking a lot of care. Well, I guess not care. They're not really seeing the stuff that has been. We've been talking about this for years, Elliot. From Inside Out, from the sexualization. We have been talking about this and trying to warn parents for years, and it's becoming stronger and stronger, and it's coming to the point where parents are it's everywhere. Even the libraries where our drag queens are just it's
Drag
blatant.
story
Everything is
time.
blatant.
Yeah.
Everything is blatant to the point of if you stand up for it, you how many labels that they give you. When you realize that actually children are just so vulnerable at that age, we talk about that quite a lot, and they actually take in more than we realize, and they start to question themselves.
Yep, no, absolutely fair. You know what? Let's cross into that because okay, so because Chloe's. I think the Green Party are no longer trees, dolphins, whales. That's gone. I think that's gone.
Yep.
Even James Shaw was on his way out with those policies. They're pretty much now communist, and I think socialist, fascist, communist. I think they're definitely in that vibe, and it's very much about social DEI, forced quota systems, some of the more brutal forms of social engineering.
Although climate change is still an issue.
Yeah, they definitely do try to push that
problem.
Yeah, and I think it's quite fascinating that they so many people are still sucked into that whole thing about somehow your taxes are going to change the climate, and it still makes me up. The last debate that I had at university actually was with Chloe. And it was with Chloe, and it was about 2 or 3 other people. But Chloe was on there. She made quite barbed comments towards me because she knows that I believe that there's male, female, nothing else, and that we should be treating transgender people with compassion, not obedience. And we talked about the climate change environment, and on that stage, they were real sissy. Those even the ACT person who was trying to defend against not doing anything. And what I said was that we cannot afford it. The numbers by Bjorn Lomborg, if we are to go carbon neutral, Bjorn Lomborg came up with the conservative figure of $5 trillion for us to go carbon neutral by 2050. $5 trillion. That's if the population doesn't grow. So that $5 trillion that Bjorn Lomborg came up with, he's the only guy to come up with one, and he's got massive amounts of positions, roles, and experience in this. So he knows what he's talking about. The Greens just tried to block their ears to it. And the university students, who are the next wave of our experts, refuse to regard the $5 trillion as anything of any consequence, not realizing that it's going to kill people, that you're going to erase tens of thousands of jobs, and this idea of, oh, well, the green tech will somehow come in and magically bring a whole bunch of jobs is nonsense. We can see that it's nonsense. It will be nonsense. But, again, thankfully some things have improved a little bit. But no, Chloe, you didn't have a bar of that, but she's quite revolutionist. And I think that's a very dangerous thing for New Zealand and for New Zealanders.
I just think she's quite dangerous.
Well, while we're on this whole concept of the green technology and all of this stuff, electric cars, for example, I read something over the weekend which really opened my eyes to something that no one's really talking about. And you know what it is that if everyone got an electric car, let's just say they got rid of all the gas-powered vehicles and everyone had electric vehicles, do you know how much power they would have to draw? That means they would have to build the grid, the electric grid, so much larger than it is. And as it stands right now, we have blackouts because we don't have, one little accident takes place over here, and the next thing you know, there's no electricity for hours, almost for an entire day. And now if everybody had electric vehicles like they want that, do you know how much electricity that's going to be drawing out of the electrical grid? Well, the electrical grid that we have right now would not be able to handle it. It's just not enough. There's not enough power there.
In 2018-19, I went to an expert guy who came over. He's an international speaker on electric infrastructure. He's quite an expert in it. He said New Zealand is 30 years behind. He said that we don't have enough, even if we built the infrastructure, we don't even have close to enough chargers for any amounts of EVs. Even if we did, we would have constant blackouts like what you're saying. And then, of course, we would have to go to the Jennies. We would have to go to the coal that we would have to import to get the green tech. Yeah, awesome. Now, here's one for you. I'll give you this. All right, is that the new gas stations that have been built currently will have on average 2 fast charge stations each. So now they're bringing in new gas stations and they're putting in minimum two fast chargers in each gas station. Now, let's take away from the side that you've got a gas station and you're putting an electric charging device massive there. Let's put that to the side for a second. That's right. The quick charge is going to be 45 minutes. It's going to be 45 minutes for a quick charge. And so every gas station that you're going to have these. And I was talking to a guy a couple of days ago, and he was saying that they already have queues of EVs on various chargers, and he says that the whole day is gone because you can't go anywhere because you need to have it charged. There's no such thing as a fast charge, and even these new batteries coming out, the new batteries that are being brought out, that's going to cause an environment disaster for the old batteries being kicked out, and even the new batteries are not as wonderful as the ads are putting out there. So you've got these massive environmental, murderous environmental things going up from people who bought the vehicle simply for the government kickback.
And then you have those ones that you see that are catch on fire that you can't actually put out. Like, how dangerous is this becoming? What this is environmentally safe? Like,
the good thing is that the good thing currently, is that EVs in New Zealand are not getting on fire and burning up like we see overseas. The problem is when we get to that 5-year mark, that 5, 6, 7 year mark, when actually the batteries do start to get and the copper and the cobalt and that starts to get a little bit wired. At that point, you're going to have a whole phase of them becoming a massive problem. And we don't know what that's going to... The resaleability of these vehicles is pathetic. That's already been seen. There are reasons to why EVs across the world suddenly go down. Even the African-American who bought Twitter and turned it into X, even his one has been dropping down in terms of the prices. So, we said this back then. We say no. So it's quite nonsensical anyway.
It just doesn't make sense. We continue down this road of things that don't make sense, and
then they have these phrases like "trust the science." Okay, science is not on your side, buddy.
I've seen the buses that say 100% electric vehicle, and it's like, why do you have to advertise that? This is virtual signaling. If I've never seen one, why do you have to say that? Like, who actually cares? Who are you advertising it to?
No, you're right.
Why are you putting it up there? Like, is it so we don't?
And that woke stuff as well. All of that is it's just weird. It's just weird company psychology that if we're somehow looked upon as good people, which means for them wokeism, because it's the simplest way to do it, then somehow that gives them social license to get in there. It's actually a really interesting. If it wasn't painful to us, it would actually be quite interesting to have an understanding about that. Look, I'm just going to show you something. Since we're talking about this, I'm going to just show you guys something as well. This in New Zealand. All right, if you can see that is here. It's zip zap here. Oh yeah. This here is Diversity Works. Now, this is, in theory, a charity. In theory, it's a charity. And I want you to have a look here. So this is one who they talk about diversity and all this sort of stuff. And the first thing I'm going to point out here is why diversity. Now I'm putting this out here because this place gets money hard, and yet it's a charity. This is technically a charity. And so here you can see that they're saying that, why diversity? Diversity all around us, global economic trends, shift in population structures, yada, yada, yada. A focus on the workplace inclusion will drive your organization's success in 3 key areas, and the outcomes will look like this: social license, productivity, and prospectivity. And I'm sorry, but none of that is correct. When they put in there and they say that diversity is our strength, they cannot explain how diversity is their strength. Now, when you talk about real estate, the realtor, we usually had mostly white people, and now we've had over the last 15 years, we've had a massive influx of Chinese and Indian real estate agents. Cool. That's not diversity. That's responding to the customer's desires. That's
right.
not diversity. And when you look here, and this is where I wanted to point this out, this is actually quite an interesting example of how these companies have this weird thought process about. This is why they're going woke. Over here, you've got that social license, productivity, prospectivity, and then that cultural inclusion. But the fact is, what does that mean? None of it means anything. Not really. If you have a look at this, they throw in the words and then they make you sound like that you're a dumbo for not getting it. I want to kick back on that. I'll say, that's bullcrap. You guys don't know what you're talking about. How is diversity our strength? I tell you what, when I was working with the high-risk kids, I didn't care what you were. My team ended up being mostly male and mostly Pacifica and some Māori. That's just how it went, because they had to be strong. They had to be mentors for male youth offenders, and they, in many cases, had to speak the language. It wasn't diversity. It was merely responding to what the customers required, the product that we were dealing with. Here, this is absolute bullcrap. What I seriously mean that. It is a nonsensical term. Social license, cohesion, productivity, prospectivity. Come on. These diversity factors have been shown time and time again to have proven wrong in the private sector. The only time they manage to take root is when they get put into the public sector. Taxpayers and ratepayers have to pay for it, fund it. And it's absolutely got nothing to do with nothing. It's got nothing to do with it. It really doesn't. And it absolutely is nonsense. Now, if I pop down here, what do I see?
Alliance partners.
Follow the money. Follow the money. All right, so these here are the guys who fund this. And lo and behold, so you've got one of them, of course, is Coca-Cola Europe. Yep. Now, Coca-Cola is hilarious. I've gone in there and I've had a look. And again, no diversity. No one cares. Why? Because you people are funded because people buy cans of Coke, L&P, Fanta. That's why they buy that. They're not buying diversity, equity, and inclusion. Then, of course, you come along here and, oh, hello, Te Tari Tai Whenua, Internal Affairs. Then you've got Public Service Commission, and then you've got Te Puni Kōkiri. These are taxpayer-funded dollars. This is your money and mine, right here. All right, fascinating. And this one down at the end here, yellow. I don't even know why yellow is still around. I'll be honest, I really don't. But these are the guys who are funding, and I couldn't find the exact numbers, but I am very, very sure that they are. I'm very, very sure that they are absolutely mostly funded by the taxpayer. And they're making stupid amounts of money. As you can see, very heavily diverse, but I guess you can't have a male. Oh, there's the token. There's a token male. We've got one male token.
He's not really a male. I mean,
Right.
that's a best male representative they could come up with.
But most of these people are white. if we're going to get into the whole diversity factor. Hey,
Can I
there
ask
you go.
something?
White.
In regards to the Green Party, aren't they supposed to have one male and one female as leaders? What happened?
No, they're not. They have to have at least one female,
Oh,
and the female has to be a POC, coloured. They have to have a coloured. That's their rules are. They
there's
want to
not
have a
enough.
coloured person. Yeah, so they have to have a coloured person. There has to be a coloured white. They have to have a coloured person and a woman. That's their rules. Oh, sorry. They don't like they switch the words around. So person colour. That's the way they say it.
Person of color
Jeez.
that is female.
Oh, honestly, they're quite a bunch of racists as far as I can see, anyway. But I just wanted to point that out because, hey, guys, that's a diversity New Zealand, and we're paying for it. They are the ones. They are a charity, and they are actually the gateway that the government has been using, and perhaps even this government, but they're the ones who've been using that as a gateway to force feed our woke companies with diversity, exclusive, equity and inclusion policies. This is coming straight from the US, nowhere else. It's coming straight from the US, so that is imported in, and they're using this one as a gateway. That's it there. That board there, which are mostly white people and almost entirely women. They have erased most of the men. That's that diversity factor engaged. So you can see how hypocritical and nonsensical it is.
I'd like to just say something real quick. I want to give a big shout out to all of the Democrats in American Samoa. I just like to congratulate them because the last Tuesday was what's referred to as the Super Tuesday. They call it Super Tuesday because 16 states and territories, U.S. territories, actually have their elections primaries during that time. And of course, Donald Trump secured the Republican nomination after the Super Tuesday. He won. He's got 1,224 delegates out of 1,215 that he needed. So they're no longer going to have any more primaries because Donald Trump is now so now they just have to wait until the Republican National Convention, which will be in Milwaukee, Wisconsin in July this year. And then after that, but in between now and then, I'm sure all he has to do now is just go straight against whoever the Democrat nominee is. And at this point, it's Joe Biden. But the reason why I wanted to say shout out to
Biden.
Yeah, I know. I can't believe it either. I don't think he's actually going to make it. But the thing that I'm saying is I wanted to give a shout out to American Samoa because of all of the states and U.S. territories on Super Tuesday that voted, they were the only ones that did not elect Joe Biden as the person that when they're I was just talking to my brother in American Samoa. He's in American Samoa, and I was just talking to him the other day, probably about 2 days ago, and he said that it was just like the talk of Pango Pango, how American Samoa had made the national news in the how there you go, Trump 2024. I've got mine over here. Yeah. Can I tell
awesome.
Can I just tell you real quick? Nikki Haley is no longer in the elections. I mean, she dropped out because obviously she knew that Trump has already secured the nomination. But this is the total now. Trump had got 1,228. Haley 94. Ron DeSantis had 9, and Vivek Ramaswamy had 3. Those are the number of delegates in the primaries.
You know who I would like to see Trump running with would be, I know that he's got 2 in mind. He's got the really good guy, I think he's from Oklahoma or one of the senators. And that's
Tim Scott.
Tim Scott. Yeah, good fella, really good guy.
From South Carolina.
South Carolina, right? That's right.
Yeah.
But I would have liked to have seen Tulsi Gabbard, actually.
Yeah, Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah, I hope she gets in. That'd be
Well,
amazing.
she'd be the first time one to be a vice president of the United States.
That would be
know.
awesome. But,
How amazing is
but
that?
at this stage, she's not. I think she'd be a great pick. But you know, yeah. But no, that's fine. We'll see what happens anyway. I did also want to bring up. We've got a new dangerous mode as well. We were talking about Chloe being quite dangerous. I think we've now got a new level of danger, which is from the Māori Party. You know, we already know that Māori Party is quite racist, but their racism has now stretched into something new. I'm not sure if you guys saw this or not, but you've got this new. Yeah, that's it. You've got this new.
Disgusting.
It is It really is. I mean, look at this. Look at this. You have Pākehā genealogy. Don't forget that. Yuck, man. Yuck. That is filthy. So look at that. How to train your Pākehā. This is absolutely racist. This is disgusting, and this is anti-New Zealand. This is against New Zealand. It really is.
Pulling it out. That's in government. They'll jump up and down if it was the other way around.
Yeah, I don't care, and I don't think we care either. I think and it sucks that we can speak out more because we are brown. But these racists from the Māori Party, effectively they're malemas. They're the same as the economic freedom fighters from South Africa. They are incredibly racist. Their comments are disgusting, just shocking sort of stuff. Some of the stuff that they themselves have been putting up is incredible, and they're trying to beat down the Pālangi, the Pākehā, the white people, the European, whatever the wording is. It's disgraceful, and it's not even trying to take New Zealand backwards. It's trying to turn New Zealand into this racist New Zealand. When I was growing up, over in Mount Wellington, over in Glen Innes, and GI and Point England and all that, man, we all played together. We didn't care about the race. Races didn't care. I am a mixture of Māori, Pasifika, Pākehā. I am a mixture of that. That's how racist we were. It's extraordinary that. I mean, these guys are racist. I have to say.
I think
by the way, well, I like this little meme. This meme I sort of enjoyed. This came from Hobson's Bleach.
Which you're a part of now, so it's good to acknowledge that.
Oh, thank you. I'll acknowledge that. Yes, I'm part of Hobson's Bleach. Hey, I need to come up with a HP.
No. Please no.
Please don't. There's some funny. I mean, but you know what? As they grow in their racism, I think more and more New Zealanders are just going, they're just going, nah, you guys suck. And the fact that he mentioned, I remember watching that TikTok or whatever that little video was when he was over in France and talking about the Macrons and joking it up and all that sort of buzz. It's just hilarious. I mean, racist, just straight racist. Green Party racist, Māori Party are racist. It's just garbage what they're doing. Paul, absolutely agree with you, Paul. Yeah, totally. It is. You know what? Okay, how do we get rid of this? We've never seen such racism as what we've seen recently. I salute your choice of.
I would wear a cap with you boys, but I can't put it on my head.
Hey, you got the leopard thing. So it's good.
This is Trump's signature right here.
Wow.
Oh, whatever. It's not his real one. All right, I'll get his real one. I'll get his real one.
Yeah, I think you should. You've been wearing that for like 3 years.
Wow.
But you know what? I think this past election has been so incredibly disappointing because we've seen it. We've watched this racist and the socialists. They've admitted Labour was calling each other comrades. We saw it. We saw it in Parliament, and people just blindly went back and just did the same thing. So, I know you get what we're going to pay for what we ignorantly decided to vote for.
Yep, fair enough.
This is what we get. And so those who are fighting against racism, it's a very huge push because it's coming from the top. And how do you push that? They can bring up hate speech, which means you're basically speaking the truth, but it's okay to be racist and get away with it. So, at what point do the people say enough is enough? Are we going to keep going down this track and keep hearing them speak like that? At what point do we say, okay, this is enough? We grew up all together. We were called, a bunga and a fob and, all these things. And we're just like, oh, shut up. There's a kind of, we just, whatever. And we just grew up in like the song, the great big melting pot was all of us. And now you're trying to divide us because that suits your narrative is incredibly, it's disgusting. And I think it's time for us as people to go, no, I'm not going to be labeled that. And no, you're right. We get away with it because we're brown, but we shouldn't have to. This is something that everyone, I think the biggest victim in this whole thing are white men who no longer have a voice. They can't even speak out. They can't even apply for these jobs because diversity reigns. I've seen these big corporations, no, we need a female. And what does the male say? Even though he's the best equipped, for the job. This is how the path that we're heading. No, we need more women. We need at least 50% women. This is the kind of thing that we're facing. And then what? What is going to happen when we don't have the people who are, who are good enough for it? Look at the Green Party. What's her name was guilty of all of the charges of.
Yep.
We've got that kind of caliber now in Parliament because we've gone down the diversity route and not the one of this person's best for this role, best for this job.
Oh my gosh. So I was just looking at something there. That's fine. Gosh. No, you're absolutely right. We've had news, of course, of more media organisations. I believe it's TVNZ are going to have 68 jobs cut. You've got TVNZ also have Fair Go, which I think is sad. I'm a bit sad about Fair Go. But then you've got the other programs that are being snapped out. I think RNZ's losing a little bit as well. We're just waiting for word back from Stuff and Spin-Off and those sorts of areas. But I'm sure you feel very, saddened by the loss of good quality journalism. Unbiased.
Maybe Fair Go, but not any of the others.
Yeah, fair enough. In fact, I do have, you can see one of a journalist here.
Oh.
Hillary Barry. Hey. A number of anti-vaxxers were very upset. Some apoplectic over my comments last night suggesting I might house unvaccinated dinner party guests in a pub tent in the backyard. You're right, I wouldn't do that. I actually wouldn't let them on the property at all. There's that real kindness factor as well. That real kindness factor from the New Zealand mainstream media. Quite fascinating how they do engage in that. And while we're there as well, of course, you had the spin-off, and I saw this quite recently. This was from the spin-off. One of the spin-offs take on the violence, the anti-woman misogynistic violence that erupted at the Posey Park affair, where you had the granny basher, the attack on Posey herself, the vicious, brutal screams that were done at yourself, Liao, to those who you were protecting, and to Posey Parker herself. This actually came up here. And this is how we looked at it. Okay? Look at that. This came as a direct reaction to those who were proving it, and this came from the spin-off. I believe it was a spin-off, right? And they tried to gaslight, manipulate the public. That Bar wasn't having it, of course. And this is where it became quite strong because, of course, you had Simon Anderson. His footage absolutely humiliated the mainstream media because all the narrative was aroha, beauty,
I know.
joy, peace, and Simon Anderson's footage blew that out of the water. It went global, his footage, and everyone mocked the New Zealand mainstream media for being absolute falsifiers of disinformation givers, and they were absolutely humiliated by that. I think that was a great thing. It's just disgusting. However, okay, I don't. I just want to go. I'm sorry. I just want to go back and ask what Paul asked a question there. What do you guys think? How do we erase this type of this false diversity, this toxicity in New Zealand? Right, Green Party racist, Māori Party racist. I don't think that's very controversial. I don't. But how do we fix the situation? How do we? What do you guys think?
I think we need to bring God back into the factor, because when the missionaries were here, so much was changed, but there was a oneness, a unity. You can call it old-fashioned, you can call it whatever you want, but I've seen when God's been able to, take people's hearts, because it's the hearts of people. It's not really a thing. It's what has changed within your own being. I think if God can be in that, there could be, a huge revival in New Zealand where people are changed, have a love for each other.
So how do we do that? How do we get God back in?
Where's the church? Church, no.
Fair point. I have to say, I've just started going back to church. So I visited church. It was a very healthy church, very, very healthy church. I'll be honest, I've had a bit of a melancholic time with churches because I have been quite contemptuous of them. And it's not a good thing. I recognize it. I understand it. I know that no one's perfect and all that sort of stuff. I get that. But my vibe, my feeling has been quite contemptuous of the modern church, especially in New Zealand. But there are good churches, there are good pastors, there are strong ones. So I need to, humble myself.
You and me both.
Yes,
I've been reined in as well. Don't worry.
Yeah,
but I'm just
not good.
Because to be fair, I have been praying for the church, because you can only love as much as the least person that you love. I mean, you know what I mean? That's about the capacity. So you need to let stuff go and let God do His thing.
You're right. I think I think I'll still continue to call out the church for being.
Oh, you need to.
Yeah. But
that amount of conferences.
Well, the thing about God being. Yeah, true. We're having a conference. Hey, that'll do it. I think that the lack of God, or let's get more technical, let's get a bit more intellectual with this. Currently, we're in a bit of a replacement. It's a very real push of removal of the Western culture, the tethering system, the Judeo-Christian principles, ethics, and morals. There's a moving out of that and a replacement with the United Nations style of the Human Declaration of Rights and the agenda items that they're bringing in, the WHO, the WEF, the sexual programs that the UN are building up. And because of that replacement of morality, that's why we're getting a lot of what we're getting. So when you do look at the murders that are being now televised in the US, you can view it. You can see that those parameters of the previous godly aspect, that even corrupt conservatives and corrupt people, that they were still working outside of the parameters of biblical values. Because the fact is, whether you're atheist, agnostic, Buddhist, whatever, if you operated within the code of conduct by the biblical aspect, you lived a decent, good quality life. Didn't matter whether you ascribed to the faith or not. If you ascribe to the code of conduct of the Bible, you're good. You're good, and that's what has worked for millennia, actually.
And that's really the difference between Christians and these woke people, because when you look at the U.S. Constitution, At the time, there, of course, these people who were the founders of the U.S. government, they were, when they wrote the Constitution, they spoke from their Christian background. And what they said is that these are God-given rights, inalienable rights that each individual has that's been granted to them from God. And that's the reason why when you talk about things, you know, when you talk about you can't do this, you can't do that, it's not because it's a right that's given by man. It's because each person is a human being. They have a right to life. They have a right to justice. They have a right to freedom. They have a right to all of these things. These are all given from God. They're not given by man. But these people who have this woke agenda, they're like, oh, we, you know, the government gave us these rights, and you know the government can take them away from us. Hell no, that's the big difference. And you know the thing that's interesting, I think Leal really was onto something, because when they first tried to push this agenda, the LGBTQ agenda, you know, before they had actually formed this group called the LGBTQ, they were just homosexuals, and they were gay. And when they had these gatherings before, they found out that the one of the reasons why they really couldn't catch on in the government in terms of like getting people to persuade people in their thinking was because it was the church. It was people in the, you know, that were part of the church, and they needed to attack the church, belittle the church, and make people feel like, oh, those people, like they're weird. And so now the new attack is that they're calling Christians that are part of this movement Christian nationalists. That's the new term that they're using nowadays.
Yeah, the more far left, the more far left guys, they're calling us Christo fascists. That's what they're using. They're using the term Christo fascists. Yeah, it's quite extraordinary.
Yeah.
And while you're onto that in terms of the LGBT stuff, I think it has to be also noted that for the first time ever, we've had good quality studies coming out about transgenderism. So it's just something that I wanted to make a mention of, that transgenderism, one of the big pushes to castrate little boys, and to cut the breasts and cut out the vagina of girls, even minors, even children. That one of the things is, if you don't do it, they'll kill themselves. Now, we always knew it was nonsense. We always said that it was nonsense, and always it was nonsense. Well, so a new study has come out, one which is 2 years. For the first time, we've had some decent quality studies, and it's really interesting, of course, is what it shows is it's a really powerful study. Now, I haven't gone into the deeps of it, but this is a good overview at the moment. But what it shows is, if you have a look at that suicide attempt down there, where you've got the situation, and I'll have a look at the overall one, where it says overall risk before, those who have got phalloplasty. Now, my understanding is that's the female to male, no risk. So no risk there. So no risk before, when they had the fake penis brought on and they carved up their arms and all that stuff. That's no change for a 2 yearly. The males, however, went from a 1.5% in terms of suicide attempts, and that doubled. That went to 3.3%. So that doubled. You know, that doubled their suicide attempts. It's not even suicidality. It's not even suicidal feelings. It's the suicide attempts. And for males, when they attempt suicide, they're usually a lot more successful than the females are. So it's quite extraordinary. You have a look at this. Honestly, even up at that top part, you've got increases. It's extraordinary. The attacks on our children and the attempts to say, hey, if we get fake penises or fake vaginas put in, then somehow that will make our lives better. No, that is not what has happened. And as more studies come out proving that, we're going to see more and more. They're still trying to silence the detained listeners. They are absolutely targeting your children. All of you out there, if you've got kids, you've got grandkids, nieces, nephews, they really aren't. Our schools, New Zealand is behind. New Zealand is behind the attacks on children in other environments. And that's something which has to be noted quite strongly. They are targeting our children even now. I've been watching very carefully what's going in some of the schools, but extraordinary. And then you've got the W Path. The W Path, we released it, a record of the report as well. It's extraordinary. It's extraordinary. It's the first time they are leaking. They've leaked the files, and it's extraordinary because now we've got leaked files that is becoming one of the biggest medical scandals of our modern times. We knew that this stuff was bad. We knew it already, but we finally now have got absolute proof. The WPATH files, all right, these have been consistently violate medical ethics and informed consent. You know, they have shown that the children are being experimented on, and this is from the WPATH lines themselves. All right, it's neither science nor medicine. Not randomized, not double-blind controlled. They are absolute. Now we've put that on our website, and look, you just click on that, and you click on that little site there. You will have all of that information at your fingertips. It is absolutely yours to go through. We believe in informed consent. There, read it. It's absolutely shocking. It really is. And New Zealand is still pushing this stuff. And by the way, don't forget, you're funding it. You're funding it. Your money, your family's money is going to funding the most brutal and modern experiment on children ever done. And you're being told that if you don't let it, then you're the problem. By the way,
I mean, this is something that, again, you know, it's actually hard for people to push back on it because it's so in your face and forced on you that you'll be labeled something if you say something against it. And I think that people are afraid. It's people are afraid to speak out in case they are labeled something, and then they will start getting hate mail or whatever it is, because that's how they're aggressive. They are aggressive, and they're not going to let up until they have your children. And so this is something that we have no choice now. It's not about just hiding in the background. We've been saying this for quite a few years, and what you're going to start seeing is the huge jump in mental health issues with children as young as 4, 5, 6, 7. And don't be mistaken. It's not your child's not going to be, is not going to be like the only one that's not going to be part of this or won't be involved. They will be from every single level, and that's what they've been trying to do with maths, English, art, everything, until you say this is enough. This is.
And don't forget, our National Party Minister for Mental Health, Matt Ducey, is a Tavistock Clinic guy. He came from Tavistock Clinic, the one that's been shut down because of its quite egregious breaches against children, actually trying to encourage children even as young as 4 years old for gender puberty blockers and afterwards surgery.
The thing is with puberty. Oh, sorry, I was just going to say, the thing is with puberty blockers and the mutation of your children's bodies is they can't take it back. There's no coming back from it. And even the puberty blockers will damage so much more than you realize. And so don't think this is just a phase that they're going to go through. Once they go through that and they start going down that path, it will be a lifetime of regret. I promise you that.
Yeah. I was just going to say that we've got to stop listening to the so-called experts who gaslight us about all of these different things and how long they last, how it's only temporary, or all of this kind of stuff. I was just looking at a video where a grandmother was asked about whether or not she would allow her, if she would be okay with her 6-year-old granddaughter receiving puberty blockers. And she went ahead and said, yeah, that's okay. And then she said, and then she was asked, well, how about your grandchildren getting tattoos? Oh, I tell them all the time, don't get tattoos because they're more permanent. It's more difficult to get rid of. I mean, this is the kind of thinking that people have, the absurdity of their thinking.
Yep. So right. Yeah, absolutely on point. Look, all right, guys. Look, we've been going on. We've gone over time by 10 minutes, but I think it's been an awesome chat. I know that we've got more to talk about, but we'll make sure we come back into this. Look, if you can, just maybe about 20, 30 seconds just to do a final wrap up, and then how about we get who prayed? Was it Liao? Did you pray at the start?
Yeah,
I did.
Liao did.
All right, let's get Fuiava to finish this off with a bit of prayer. So maybe we'll just have about 20, 30 seconds for a bit of a close up and see what we can finish up there.
Yeah, I just want to say that life is very short, and I've been down this path, and I want to say, the type of legacy you want to leave for your children, it starts with you, and it's time for you to use your voice, use the gift that God's given you, and continue to walk, down that path, and don't be afraid. All we get from mainstream media at the moment is fear mongering, and it's time to stop. And it's time to turn off your TV and start living life. That is me. Thank you.
Well done. Awesome. Fuiava.
Oh, I thought you were going to end with me so I could do the prayer, but okay.
That's right. You can do the prayer at the end.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say that the purpose of us doing this program, I mean, if you really want to look at it, is to educate, but not just educate, but also to try to get people to activate and to ignite something within you. If you're listening and you're saying, oh, this is to hear, and this, if you don't do anything, you're just like the kitten in the house that never gets walked around or does any exercise, but just keeps on eating, getting fat. There's stuff going on around the world. They need all of us to get involved and to participate and do our part. There's a lot more than us just coming on here and speaking. There are things that each of us individually are actually involved in that have to do with the community. But, we're hoping that we can do the same thing in terms of those who are listening. So if you're a part of our audience, you've been a part of our audience for like the last 2 years, hopefully you'll hear that in our voices, in how we tell our stories, what we're all about. Some of us have stood up in the last elections just because we wanted to make a difference. And, this is all a matter of showing that it's more than just talk. It's more than just trying to get people to hear our views, but it's actually about trying to do something for our community because we care.
Awesome. And for me, I'll just say God bless every single one of you. Strength to you and your families. Yes, in terms of us, I think we are quite family focused. I would say that you have an obligation to defend your nation, to defend the children, not just your children, but all children, to defend
That's right.
all of our people, to defend what our tupuna, our ancestors also fought and died for and lived through for. The idea that all people are to be treated the same and equally, that we are a nation under God, that we actually are, and that we will not be kowtowed to by racists who are taking our money and using it to try to gaslight us back. We won't stand for it. And we know that you will join, and some of you have already joined us, shoulder to shoulder and heart to heart. So I just want to have a great evening, great week. God bless you all. And it's been just an absolute joy to see you guys here week after week and fortnight after fortnight, even though we come in late sometimes as well. Nothing to do with me, not my fault at all. So if you can send us off, that'd be awesome.
Okay, let's pray. Oh, wow. Father God, we just want to praise and glorify your wonderful name. We want to say thank you once again for helping us in getting through this session of or this episode of Talanoa. Lord, we thank you because we know that you were part of the audience. You were part of the facilitation that took place. And we ask, Lord, that you just bless each and every person that's listening and bless my brothers, my brother and sister who are fellow facilitators. Lord, I just ask in the name of your son, Jesus, that you'll bring us back safely, protect us, watch over us. In your son's holy and mighty name, we pray and ask. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Whaasei fua. Whamanue le atua. I loainga.
Whaasei fua.